Mary Hamby, born on January 16th, 1950, died on August 26, 2022. Loving wife, mother, mother-in-law, grandma, stepmom, friend, dog lover. She was 72 years old. I've had time to think about Mary and what I would like to say, and of course there's too much. She was much. I've been imagining having a conversation with her about the Queen having her funeral on the same day as Mary's. And I don't know about you, but I can hear her laugh about that. And what's true is that God looks at Mary with the same divine eyes that he looks at the Queen with, or at me, or at you. Mary was born in Escanaba and raised in Schaefer, Michigan. She's one of two children born to Albert and Elaine Martin. Her dad was a dairy farmer. And if you look at the map and find Schaefer, you'll believe that it is farm country. It is out there. Mary had farm sensibility. Life on a farm is difficult when everything goes well. It is even more difficult when life deals you curves. Mary's parents divorced when she was 3. I didn't get to ask her about this, but her grandpa died at about the same time. And he was a support for her, a great support in a very problematic family situation. Her mom remarried, they moved to Neenah. Difficulties continued. It rained. Mary was bright. She liked school. It was a place away from the difficulties at home. Aunt Sally and Norma were a help for her too. She also liked going to her grandparents' farm where there was a piano and lots of singing. At 17, she married Robert, and they lived in Winchester. Robert Jr. was born first, and then Michael 5 years later. The marriage broke, and at the age of 25, she was the divorced single mother of 2. She had $40 and drive. She held 3 jobs, went to school, and was a mom to her 2 boys. She earned her associate's degree during this time. She quit one of the jobs because one of her boys told her he wanted to be with her more. Her sons were priority and remained so throughout her life. Many things influenced Mary, but the difficulties of life did not determine her identity. The pains and losses she experienced did not cause her to lose hope or become closed off. She worked, she loved, and she worked to improve herself. After 5 years of doing almost everything on her own, she met and married Ron Hamby. Life became more active with more options. They were in a motorcycle club together and traveled 44 of the lower 48 states and parts of Canada, all on bike. You can tell riders, they tend to not call them motorcycles, they call them bikes. Had a couple bikes of her own. She liked fast cars and some fast driving. She had a Datsun 280ZX, Firebird Camaro, Jeep. They started a dating service together. They bought homes to fix up and sell. She loved to read, shop, and decorate. Shared her love of holidays with her family. Sometimes it keeps raining, doesn't it? Ron got cancer. His story was similar to many. The medical bills piled up, and by the time Mary reached the age of 52, she was a widow with large medical debts. So she basically started over again. I can hear her tell her stories in a matter-of-fact manner. She did what she had to do. She sold her assets, paid the bills, and when her job ended, that too, got into banking. She became an assistant branch manager and then manager a year later at Appleton Bank. After about 4 years of widowhood, some guy started pursuing her at the bank. She was hesitant. He was persistent. Art and Mary talked, emailed. The first date was at Perkins on January 16th, and I mentioned that date because that's her birthday. They could talk to each other about anything. Good thing to have. They respected their schedules. They were patient, fell in love. Their activities together reflected their budget and their values. They enjoyed camping and then building a home together in Shawano. Then they enjoyed camping again. Mary knew about adjusting to what life puts in front of us. Even though Mary knew about lean times, she was always managing to be generous. When it was a stretch for her, she was generous. She was creative. I met Mary after they had come to St. Thomas and before the move to Shawano. They greeted me shortly after I arrived and told me of their planned wedding. We laughed together immediately. She could tease and be teased. She especially enjoyed it when I teased Art. And yet, in that context, her faith had a serious side that was practical. She impressed on Art and on others the truth of Proverbs 3, which is found in our service leaflet. Trust the Lord with all your heart and don't rely on your own insight or understanding. All along, she made time to love and care for her grandchildren, went to school events, checked in with them, and told them how she felt about them. And told them how she felt about them. Told them. She gave advice and was always available, liked to spoil them with treats and nail treatments. She could listen. She encouraged thankfulness. She worked to point her grandchildren, Art, and the people in her life to a path of generosity and thankfulness. Today we gather to say goodbye, to celebrate her life, and to trust her future, and hopefully ours, to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The church is white, Easter candle is lit, and this is an Easter service. We are reminded to trust in the Lord with all our heart and to not rely on our own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make our paths straight. This is an incredibly short Old Testament lesson for any service, let alone a funeral. Can you see Mary's eyes twinkling about that? I can. And she'd laugh and argue that it's appropriate and fitting. Trusting the Lord is not always an easy thing. It just isn't. For life is real. We're not perfect. Even Art would agree. I'm not going where you think I'm going. But that's a good place too. Art would agree that as good as he thinks Mary is, she's not perfect. None of us are. And we often trust in ourselves and rely on our own insight. And it seems to work for a while. We want it to work all the time. But life is real. The tough times come. Pain and loss comes. In the life of Christ, the cross and death comes. Jesus was different. He did not rely on his own understanding. He did seek the will of the Father, In spite of the death on the cross, he was raised. On the third day, he rose from the grave. The pain and death of the cross was not the final reality. Because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, for Mary, life is changed, not ended. There has been a dwelling place, eternal in the heavens, prepared for her. There is a place prepared for you. When you die, life will be changed, not ended. And we are invited into that hope. And this hope is real. We will pray in a few minutes that Mary may go from strength to strength in a new life of perfect service. Cancer is gone. Fear is gone. Joy is complete. Purpose is clear. The resurrection of Jesus and that hope reminds us to give thanks, to be generous in our forgiveness, and that it is safe for us to not lean on our own understanding, but to trust the Lord with our whole heart. These are actions that Mary aspired to and encouraged in us. Her hope was in the resurrection, and now she's convinced. Amen.